Editing tools are everywhere. But how did that happen? I'm Aaron Zippin, and today we're going on a journey through the hidden art that literally cuts through time. We're exploring the evolution of editing. From the earliest hands-on film snippers to today's AI-assisted workflows that might just replace me. Well, maybe not me. Anyways, let's rewind all the way to the 1800s, where editing was born not out of creativity, but necessity. You see, film editing began as a purely manual craft. In the 1890s, Edison's projectors, the Vitascope, allowed creators to string together short films into a primitive form of editing. At that time, there was no dedicated editing machines. Filmmakers simply cut film by hand. Even in the early 1900s, the first ever cuts were made with scissors and tape hunched over a table. Editors literally held strips of film up to the light and snipped frames to join scenes. And in these early years, editing was considered a technical, even menial job. Editors were expected to just cut out the bad bits, but it was also a creative breakthrough. For example, Edwin Porter's Great Train Robbery, 1903, stitched together 20 separate shots across multiple locations and pioneered cross-cutting to show simultaneous action. Or Georges Méliès, who was one of the first to experiment with editing as magic, with a trip to the moon, and boom, cinema began to evolve. And with that came the realization it wasn't just about cutting, it was how you cut. D.W. Griffith's work in The Birth of a Nation pioneered continually editing while cross-cutting to build tension. Editors began to understand that cuts had rhythm, emotion, and psychological impact. As Walter Murch famously observed, the whole eloquence of cinema is achieved in the editing room, highlighting that even from the start, editing was central to storytelling. This was a universal concept. Over in Russia, Soviet montage theory was taking off with Sergei Eisenstein's Battleship Potemkin as the poster child. Remember the Odessa step sequence? That is still shown at film schools today. It's pure tension and pure cinema. In my humble editor's opinion, Werner Herzog got it right when he said editing is not simply one aspect of filmmaking, it is the aspect. But it wasn't easy. Early post-production was done on a film work print. That is a positive copy of the negative, physically cut and taped in sequence. This was painstaking. Any mistake meant sending the negative back to the lab for a new print, costing time and money. The Moviola, invented in 1924, was a game changer. For the first time, an editor could play footage and cut it at the same time. With a Moviola, or a flatbed editing table, editors could loop film across rollers while watching, making cuts more precise and efficient. By the 1950s, multi-reel flatbed editors like the Steenbeck and the Chem became industry standards. These machines let editors handle several reels at once and make cleaner splices than earlier upright Moviolas. In 1934, the Oscars even recognized editing as a creative art, with its first Best Editing Award for Eskimo, raising the craft's profile.
Wait, Molly, you must stop! Come back, Mala! Come back!
And by the 1960s and 70s, innovative editors were pushing the art further. Allen embraced jump cuts, starting sequences mid-action, and overlapping sound, techniques that surprised Hollywood audiences. As one film scholar put it, The Hustler in 1961 and Bonnie and Clyde in 1967, edited by Allen, must be considered benchmark films in the history of editing. Allen herself often said she would cut from the gut, trusting intuition over rigid rules. As technology advanced, television and news moved from film to videotape. And in 1956, Ampex introduced the first commercial VTR, the $50,000 Ampex VRX1000, that could record and play back videotape. Editors then cut tapes using linear editing suites, which were deck to deck. This meant assembling edits in sequence, often with no ability to jump around. It was still a destructive, studio-based process, so forget about that undo button. Only in the 1970s did real digital nonlinear editing emerge. In 1971, the CMX 600 became the first computer-based NLE storing video digitally on massive disk drives. But the big breakthrough came in the late 1980s and early 90s with software on desktop PCs, the Avid Media Composer. My personal fave to cut on, debuted in 1989 and was soon used to cut Hollywood films, while in 1991, Adobe released Premiere on the Mac. Avid's interfaces mimicked the flatbed layout with film strip style timelines, and these tools began a revolution in digital video editing. Suddenly, editors could access any shot instantly, rearrange scenes with drag and drop, and experiment freely without damaging source material. By the 1990s, editing was democratizing and ubiquitous. Adobe Premiere 1.0 was remarkably affordable, about $495 or so, letting anyone on a home computer experiment. Heck, I even learned it in '97. However, when in 1999 Apple introduced Final Cut Pro, there was a giant shift in the industry. But by the 2000s, virtually all film and TV editing was digital. And when Angus Wall said digital editing isn't faster, it's infinite, that's the challenge, he's right. It got easy to overshoot and cut through it, and then change anything at any time. Think of the expression on Sergei Eisenstein's face if you told him how easy it would be to reorder any parts of the Odessa step sequence now. In fact, it's now easier than ever. Modern suites integrate AI and automation to speed up routine tasks. And specialized AI services have also emerged. For example, Runway ML uses one-click machine learning to mask and rotoscope video frames. In one test, editor Ian Sansevera reported it let him rotoscope a clip in 1/24th the time of manual methods.
Man, this technology is so cool and I'm super stoked. Okay.
Other software like Pluralize from Maxon can automatically sync multiple cameras and audio tracks. And Descript even lets you edit video by editing an automatic transcript text. All these tools augment the editor's workflow. As Walter Murch noted, film editing is now something almost everyone can do at a simple level and enjoy it. But to take it to a higher level requires dedication. In short, today's editors wield powerful timelines instead of scissors. But the craft of choosing which shots and how to cut them remains the essence. Remember, editing is an invisible art. We're not just cutting footage, we're shaping emotion. Whether you're splicing film, scrubbing a timeline, or tech whispering to an AI for an extension of a shot, you're telling a story. Thanks for taking this deep dive into editing with me today. If you learned something, hit the like button and feel free to splice in a comment with your favorite editing tool. And make sure to subscribe too, because we've got way more sequences to assemble. Until next time, film now, sleep later.